Max Verstappen is the most flamboyant and daring driver in the history of a modern Formula One. He openly mocks his competitors, breaks the rules right on the track and behaves provocatively, but at the same time he keeps racking up titles. We will tell the story of his challenging childhood, the mistreatment by his father, and his tumultuous journey to the pinnacle. At the end there will be a story about how Max narrowly escaped death for his words directed at another driver. Family and parents story. The racing driver, whose full name is Maximilian Verstappen, was born on September 30, 1997 in the Belgian city of Hasselt. His family had a long history in motorsport. His father, Jos Verstappen, was a Formula One driver, and his mother and uncle, Sophie and Anthony Kampen, were involved in kart racing and NASCAR. Life was not easy for the Verstappens. They were not wealthy and had no connections, and racing is an expensive sport. The sporting journey can be traced back to Max's grandfather Franz, who moved to the town of Marseille, where Jos and his sister Gerda were born. The grandchildren often visited their grandparents on holidays or weekends. Gerda recalls, "At the landfill we could climb into cars, play with motorcycles, sometimes we encountered stray cats." But soon mighty idleness ceased to interest Jos. As an 8-year-old he saw a kart race and was captivated. Another child might have been scolded for their dreams, laughed at and then forgotten. But fate smiled upon Jos because the Verstappen family made a fateful decision and gave Jos his first kart as a gift, practically using their last money. Jos was already beating his competitors from his very first race, and Franz spent hours in the garage next to the landfill perfecting karts for his son. While Jos had a passion for various sports, he always aimed for victory. Participation was never enough for him. Franz desperately wanted to help Jos and began traveling across Europe when his son started competing in different countries. However, the former infantryman had a difficult character. Franz did not allow Jos to make mistakes. Once, when Jos crashed his car during a race, his father locked the boy in the van they used to travel around Europe as punishment. In the Verstappen family, they say Max would not have gone this far without Jos, and Jos would not have gone this far without his father. Max's childhood. The youngest Verstappen grew up in the Belgian town of Marseille because his mother Sophie was originally from there. However, Max later opted for a Dutch racing license, which infuriated his mother, but we'll get to that later. Max's mother is a talented racer who won several karting tournaments and competed internationally against future Formula One stars Jenson Button and Giancarlo Fisichella. However, when she met Jos on the racetrack in Genk and fell in love, Sophie gave up her career to support her husband. Max was a unique child who from an early age was inspired by his father's victories and had a passion for cars. In school he had quite average grades, constantly missing classes to travel to tracks with Jos's team and later for his own races. His goal was to become a Formula One driver. He said that when he was 10, recalls Max's grandmother Marianne Lennon. Around 2008, at the same time, Max's parents divorced. Max remained with his father, while his sister stayed with their mother. Jos and Sophie's divorce became a real media scandal. Kampen even sued her ex-husband, accusing him of threats and harassment. Jos was initially sentenced to 3 months of suspended imprisonment and fined €1,650, but he was later acquitted due to a lack of evidence. Although Max lived with his father, his mother helped with the challenges of balancing racing and education. The school set reasonable conditions. Verstappen could participate in international races, but only if he maintained good academic performance. As you can imagine, Max mostly ignored this ultimatum because it was challenging to combine rigorous training and preparation with a full school curriculum. However, the school sometimes turned a blind eye to his absences and unfinished homework. Child in motorsport. Max's career began with a typical childhood whim. After seeing kids racing go-karts, he tearfully asked his mother for one just like it. Max's parents decided it could be a family activity and allowed their son to take up karting. However, his father Jos believed that Max should only start racing at the age of 6, and Max's racing debut was delayed until he was 7. His very first race resulted in a victory for the young driver, despite being 2 to 3 years younger than his competitors who had some racing experience. Jos always tried to be present near the racetrack, especially in rainy or challenging conditions, to provide immediate advice to his son. He pointed out Max's mistakes and helped the future Grand Prix winner develop his driving skills. Jos was a strict teacher and Max had to give his best, which had a significant impact on his driving style. Journalist Bas Caligas, who was familiar with the family, described Max's racing style as follows. From the very beginning, from the very first lap, he raced on the edge even when the tires were still cold. Relationship with father. However, Jos became more engrossed in his son's career than in his own, and the bar was set too high for Max to have normal relations with him. Max asked to play soccer with peers, but his father insisted on taking him to another training session. An 8-year-old boy simply couldn't assert his right to have a childhood and normal pastimes. Jos invested €500,000 in Max's career. He sought technical assistance from friends in the Pax family, who had their roofing business and were responsible for kart adjustments. Together with Max's father, they fine-tuned the karts to perfection. Meanwhile, the young Max raced in these karts with the Pax brothers. The more accolades Max earned, the more demanding his father became. For example, if it rained and Max forgot his raincoat or umbrella, Jos did nothing, indifferent to the fact that the boy would get soaked. If Max took too long to overtake an opponent, Jos would invariably scold him after the race, saying, "Darn it, you should have acted more aggressively." Max didn't even take off his helmet so no one would see his tears. In September 2012, at the age of 14, Max crashed his car while attempting to regain the lead in a race. When the Verstappens met, the father simply remained silent. Jos refused to speak to his son for an entire week. However, Max won everything he could in karting and was ready to move on to a higher level. He would later say about his childhood, "In Formula 1, nothing surprised me, because no one treated me as harshly as my father did." Start in Formula 1. The first serious problems for Max and Jos only arose in Formula 3. They lacked the money to compete when the deadline for applications for the season approached. To participate, they needed €500,000, and no one wanted to sponsor a 16-year-old driver without a guaranteed result. Only the guys from Van Amersfoort Racing decided to help. They registered Max as a pilot, purchased a brand new car for him worth €150,000. Max Verstappen was inspired by his move to Formula 3 and quickly stood out in his team. Of all the races he won, the brightest was at the Norris Ring, when Max managed to attract the attention of a crucial figure, Red Bull's advisor and talent scout Helmut Marko. He immediately signed Max to his team, reached an agreement with both the Verstappens, and in March 2015 in Melbourne, Max became the youngest driver in Formula 1 history. He was 17 years and 166 days old. Formula 1 career. In his debut season in Formula 1, Max Verstappen, who didn't even have a driver's license due to his young age, delivered impressive results. He finished in the points 9 times. Despite numerous retirements due to technical issues and accidents, he managed to secure 12th place in the overall standings and accumulate 49 championship points. In 2016, following races in Melbourne, Bahrain, Shanghai and Sochi, the senior management of the Red Bull Racing team, led by Christian Horner, made a surprising decision to remove Daniil Kvyat from their ranks. It was at this moment that Max, who had put in solid performances, seized the opportunity to replace the Russian driver, much to the delight of his father. In his very first race, the 181-centimeter tall, 71-kilogram heavy driver found himself in an ill-fitting car seat. This did not hinder him from claiming 4th place in the qualifying session and triumphantly winning the Spanish Grand Prix after a Mercedes collision. In the subsequent races, Max exhibited a resilient character, securing 4 silver and 2 bronze podium finishes and competing for points in 7 races. In the following season, the young driver finished 6th in the championship. He achieved impressive victories in Mexico and Malaysia. In 2018, despite numerous race incidents, he moved up 2 spots, securing podiums in 10 Grand Prix races. This was reflected in the driver's earnings. In 2016, he earned $600,000, and just 2 years later, the amount had soared to $10 million. Current career. In the 2019 season, Max Verstappen frequently stood on the podium. However, he faced new competitors from McLaren like Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, who had moved to Ferrari. This added a new layer of competition, making it more challenging for Max to succeed. His car was inferior to the Red Fury in several qualifications and some Grand Prix races. In the autumn of 2020, during the Portuguese Grand Prix, the Red Bull driver claimed the 3rd place on the podium. However, it was not his achievements or impressive statistics that made headlines, but rather a colorful tirade he delivered over the radio aimed at his competitor Lance Stroll, whom he referred to as blind and ignorant. Max's speech sparked a wave of criticism on social media, suggesting that a Formula One driver should refrain from insulting individuals with disabilities and entire nations. In Baku, at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Max was forced to retire from the race due to a tire blowout just 4 laps before the finish. However, his performance in the French Grand Prix proved more successful, as the Dutch driver outpaced Lewis Hamilton and clinched his first-ever career Grand Slam, winning the race, qualifying, and setting the fastest lap all in one event. Max was crowned world champion at the final race of the 2022 Formula One season in Abu Dhabi, a significant moment in his career. In 2023, he repeated this success, securing the championship title well ahead of the competition with 6 races remaining. Personal life. Max Verstappen's personal life has been the subject of rumors, particularly in connection with his bold personality. Similar to his father, who had numerous relationships, young Max turned heads with beautiful women during his youth. These were fleeting romances without an attempt to establish a family. These brief relationships were with sportswomen Sebi Cook, Maxime Porky, Michaela Elin Katalinsky, as well as with model Joyce Godofridi and blogger Rus van der Raa. In 2017, he entered a relationship with German girlfriend Dilara Senlik, which fans learned about from shared photos on Max's Instagram. In a similar fashion, news emerged of the young racer's romance with Brazilian model Kelly Piquet, whose father Nelson Piquet was a 3-time Formula One champion. Interestingly, Kelly's previous boyfriend was Daniil Kvyat, a Russian driver with whom she had a daughter named Penelope in 2019. Paradoxically, this event did not hinder the relationship, but rather contributed to its demise. Max's new companion is 9 years his senior. It so happened that Max took not only Kvyat's career, but also his woman. It's not surprising that both guys have expressed strong opinions about each other. Max has had numerous such conflicts, and they seem to continue. Conflicts with other drivers. Max Verstappen has been in Formula One since 2015, and over the past 8 years, he has managed to store up quite a bit and earn himself some real rivals on the track. Let's delve into some of the most prominent and contentious incidents. In 2018, during the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Max collided with Daniel Ricciardo while they were fighting for position. Cameras quickly caught Verstappen's furious outburst. "You're acting like a darn idiot right now. Shut up and drive." However, later Max claimed that there was nothing personal about this incident, and it was just a part of the sport and emotions running high. In 2019, Valtteri Bottas also faced Max's wrath. Max said, "If someone can't handle their own car, then they don't belong in the team. I'm just saying, I don't understand Valtteri's driving style." This statement was made during a press conference, and Max didn't shy away from expressing it face-to-face. In 2020, Max collided with Lance Stroll during a practice session in Portimao. As a result, Max used strong language against Stroll. Red Bull boss Christian Horner subsequently prohibited Max from using foul language. An ultimatum of sorts was even issued since Max is part of the pinnacle of motorsport, not involved in a street brawl. Of course, Lewis Hamilton didn't escape Max's criticisms either, as he began to lose his edge. After a collision at Silverstone, Max stated that Hamilton celebrated while he was in the hospital. In September, Max questioned whether Hamilton was racing within the FIA rules and suggested that he had influence over the stewards, who seemed to favor the respected driver. One of the most famous incidents involving Max was his conflict with Esteban Ocon after the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. Ocon tried to take the inside line in a turn and ended up colliding with Max's wheel. Max was spun out, losing several positions. After the race, Max physically confronted Ocon, attempting to push and strike him. Controversial image and audacious acts. Max's audacious image is not just a facade, it's his real lifestyle. His actions can sometimes be entirely unpredictable. In the final qualifying session of the Mexican Grand Prix, Valtteri Bottas had a serious crash, and double yellow flags were immediately waved, preventing drivers from improving their lap times. However, this didn't stop Max. He was already the fastest driver on the track, but he decided to accelerate anyway. Experts believed that Max would lose his pole position, but initially the stewards, after closely reviewing the incident involving Max, didn't penalize him, considering that he hadn't improved his time in the last mini-sector. But later, once the situation had been successfully resolved, a journalist asked a straightforward question: Did Max lift off the throttle at the moment of the double yellow flags? And if he didn't, why was there an improvement in the lap time? Max laughed and responded with a challenge. Does it look like I slowed down? No. Or consider the critically dangerous blocking of the Finnish champion Kimi Räikkönen at the Belgian Grand Prix, when the chief Formula One judge at the time, Charlie Whiting, now deceased, was having explanatory conversations with the driver. There was also the 2016 Mexican Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen, with risky maneuvers, kept Sebastian Vettel at bay, leading Vettel to call Max a jerk at first, then tell him to go fuck himself, and to tell the stewards the same thing, as they allowed Max to run rampant on the track. Global scandal. However, not everything Max Verstappen said or did went without consequences, especially when it involved insults and jokes not aimed at individuals but entire nations. Over the radio, Max made harsh comments about Felipe Massa, but apparently he felt it wasn't enough. When asked during a press conference if he would reconcile with Massa, Max laughed and contemptuously added, "After all, he's a Brazilian." This phrase received widespread attention, and during the same weekend, Max started receiving threats from Brazil. It's essential to note that this country hosted one of the most dangerous races in Formula One history, with previous attacks on drivers. So Max thought about it and apologized, not having much of a choice. Feelings towards Max Verstappen may vary, but at the moment, he is the most successful and promising driver who has already made his mark in the history of Formula One. A couple more seasons like this, and he could compete for the title of the best in the sport's history. Thanks for watching.